Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Encrypted Connections. I am your host, Kyle. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hard to follow along sometimes, man. Every day just blends together. The older you get, the more it don't matter. As you guys know, plans got switched today. If you don't know, if you didn't catch the live earlier, plans got switched today. We were supposed to go to the Bridgewater Triangle into Freetown. And of course, New England weather just is the stupidest. Oh God, it's so bad sometimes. Yesterday, it was like a 10-15% chance of showers today. And then that all changed in the blink of an eye this morning. It was downpouring and was going to continue to do that for the almost all day, long enough that we couldn't go. But tomorrow we are going. The weather is supposed to be beautiful, 55, 60 degrees, sunny skies. And so we're going to make up for it tomorrow. Trust me, I was so excited. And then when I found out that it was raining, I was like, oh God, please let us be able to go tomorrow. Because I was like a kid in the candy store, or a kid waiting for Christmas. Probably I woke up all early, get my backpack all ready and like, let's go. And we didn't get to. But anyway, hello, Ninja. What's going on, buddy? Brown Dwarf, what's up, man? Wow, thanks for plugging all that stuff. I appreciate you, man. Mikey, Long Island, how are you? Sonia, Alo, Trish, Bobcat Ridge, welcome. Sharon, how are you guys? Anyway, tonight we have another piece of the Olympic Project connection. Everybody, this is Chris Spencer. How you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm doing good.
Good, man. Good. Thanks for being here. So, you're the audio expert of this group. Shane said when he came on the show, he goes, "You got to have Chris on." I mean, this guy scrubs through thousands and thousands of hours of audio all the time for us. He's got recorders going every day almost of the year, or every day of the year. He said you got to have him on. The stuff he does is just crazy. I don't know much about audio, so you're gonna have to tell me a little bit about what I know. Some stuff I know that you have. That what Shane showed is like a some kind of software where you can see the visual of it.
Yeah,
correct? Spectrogram. Okay. And so after doing this for so long, you just can look at that and tell when there's anomalies on there.
Yeah, it's learning the signatures. Just like anything else, when you convert the sound into a spectrogram, into a picture, individual sounds have their own unique signatures, and individual animals have their own unique signatures. And I got a mosquito in my ear. Sorry. But yeah, so I'm not an expert. I'm passionate about it, and I've taken the time to learn it as best as I can, and I'm still learning. But I got into audio in 2015 after listening to a podcast that David Ellis had done. And David had talked about when he got into audio, he thought about all these people who are having these audible encounters where they're hearing whoops, knocks, and stuff like that. And it dawned on him, wouldn't it be nice to have that recorded? Because then it becomes, instead of a story, you actually have evidence of what you heard. Right. So I took that to heart, and I don't go in the woods. There's mosquitoes. Sorry. I don't go in the woods without an audio recorder going. in 2015, I located an area down near where I live in southwestern Washington, and I chose the area actually from a BFRO report that David had taken in 2009, and I started recording there, and it was about 2 months after starting to record, I actually started picking up some suspicious knocks and whistles, and I was talking with David, and basically I ended up capturing quite a bit of audio in this one spot, and it was it ended up, I found out, what was funny is I found out in 2017 that there was a sighting maybe 3/4 of a mile from where I was recording 6 months before I started recording there.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I had no idea about that. So that's kind of where I got into the audio thing. But I've spent a lot of time learning, because when you first start, you got to listen to the audio and look at the spectrogram in order to understand what the signatures are that you're looking at. But once you devote some time to it and work at it, I mean, I can put a 10-hour audio file into spectrogram, and I can go through it in about 15 minutes, depending on what's on it.
Wow.
It depends on the area too. It's like I tell people, try to stay in the same area, because every area's got its own noises. Got every individual animal is going to have its own kind of sound, and you got to get to know all that. And then once you do, after you've recorded in the same area for a good year or so, then it becomes a lot easier. You can go through audio a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, it's so I think maybe the misconception is that you're out there just trying to find Sasquatch noise, but really what you're doing is you're getting familiar with all of the other natural known sounds, so you can rule out the fox, the rack. I don't know what you guys have out there as far as
Oh, we have fox. They're rare on the west side, but I've actually recorded fox right here where I'm sitting.
and they're crazy. I mean, they
Yeah,
have so many sounds.
mainly out here. The big noisemakers out here are coyotes and barred owls.
Okay.
But that's the thing. I enjoy learning the other animals. And when I first started recording, I thought I was a pretty competent outdoorsman. But how often do you listen to the sounds at night when you're camping? You're usually
Mm,
asleep, and there's some pretty crazy sounds that our known animals can do and make. And it's been a whole learning experience. Like I said, I'm still learning. I get audio sent to me from different areas of the country, and I always tell people, look, I'm pretty confident with stuff that happens in Washington, but I don't know all the animals in the country yet. That's what the Macaulay Library of Sound is for. Is like, if I don't know something, I go find it, and um, I look for it. And our the goal is to capture unknown audio, which is what I consider Sasquatch audio, and that once you've done it long enough, they're primate like. They're nothing like coyote. They're nothing like uh, owls. They have a very primate character visually when you look at them in spectrogram, and audibly they're their own thing. But it's taken years, and they don't make a lot of noise. I mean, it's not like I'm getting vocals every time I put a recorder out. It's very seldom do they make noise, but when they do, it's for a reason, and there's no mistaking it for anything else. I mean, I always tell people, if you can rule out humans if they have something suspicious, then it becomes suspicious, because the closest thing that compares to them would be human vocalizations. And I don't care what anybody says, a human can make the same sounds they're making, and they can make the same sounds we're making. So,
really? You
oh,
think you?
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously not to the same degree when you're talking about like decibel levels and stuff, though.
Oh, yeah. I have recordings of friends out on campouts. I collect human audio as well, and people doing whoops and doing long howls, and they can hit the same decibels that our target subjects can. I've
Really?
watched my I've watched my friend blow his entire voice box out doing it, but he can do it. I mean, not to the like long howls. I've seen some long howls that, like recently, I had a long howl from Oklahoma sent to me that went 18 seconds, and I defy a human to do that, but a trained human could. Um,
Mm.
There's a misconception about audio. People think there's this magical hertz level or frequency level that only Sasquatch can do, and that's BS. We can do it too. They're running the same hertz ranges we are. They tend to run lower, bigger animals, but younger animals could be human. You know,
So like I watched oh God, what's the name of the documentary? It's a fairly new documentary, Sasquatch the Language. Have you seen this?
I probably have. If it's new,
Scott Nelson was in
yeah,
it. Okay.
I know Scott, and I actually watched him give a presentation in 2015.
So he spoke about how he ruled out certain people's audio because it was in human range. And he
Yeah,
said, so it couldn't be Sasquatch because it was in human range. So
that's
you
BS.
don't think that rules it
No,
out then?
I'm gonna flat out say right now. I've been doing this 8 years. I've looked at human vocalizations. I've looked at what we consider target subject vocalizations. Yes, there are a few things that I look for that I've learned from David Ellis and Monongahela to look for in our target subjects. But to flat out say that humans can't do their calls is totally wrong. There is no magical number. They're not magical. They're animals. There are people out there who can do. My fiance, she'll do a barred owl call that I can put in spectrogram, and you'll swear it's a barred owl call.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this. I only know some of the stuff that I've seen. And what the heck's going on there? Is that me?
It's windy here.
Oh, all right. I got like an echo of my own voice, and then it sounded like something was rubbing against the mic or whatever. There it goes again. I don't know if something's going on with my microphone. Hold on one second. Oh man, I don't know what's going on.
You sound fine to me on my end.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're hearing, but I don't hear what you're describing.
Oh, I got an echo. I heard my voice twice in my ear, and that just throws me all off. All right, so if I'm good, then I'm good. So like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this, but it, some of these vocals that you hear people record sound so powerful. They sound so strong. And people say a lot. You hear people describe and they go, that whatever made that noise has to have a set of lungs that's twice as big as any man's.
And see, I'm not going to take away from that, because I have vocals that have been sent to me, and when an animal is repeatedly doing a long howl, a human's not going to be able to do it as often as, let's say, our target subjects. Obviously, they're going to have a bigger lung capacity, but we are capable of making those sounds. I mean, it's just, I've seen it, and that's just how sound works. The other thing is, smaller animals can make a big noise. Barred owls, the whole saying, if it's an 800-pound barred owl, BS, it's a barred owl. I've recorded thousands of barred owls, and they make a big noise, and you're talking about a 3 or 4 pound bird.
Yeah.
If that. And so, my point is, anyone that says that only Sasquatch can make a certain sound, it's not true. That's just not true. Yes, there are certain characteristics to their signatures. There's certain things they do that will make it more probable it's a Sasquatch. But I always, when anybody sends me audio, you got to eliminate people. That's why when we go out, I don't like anyone with us to make any kind of calls. I don't want any contamination, because 99% of the stuff we record out in the field is going to be at distance. If it's at distance, that, if anything, that makes it easier to mistake for something else than what it is. So, when you have people hooting and hollering out there and you're trying to discern audio, it makes the job a lot harder. Because
Sure.
inevitably, especially on campouts, I've been on multiple campouts where people had radios and they had the whole, yeah, you call in and announce when you're going to make a call or this and that. No one ever does. Yeah, no one ever does. And, after you've done it a while, I've had people send me stuff that is obviously a human making the vocalization, but I just want to emphasize that to say that humans can't is not true. It's just not true.
So, okay. Wow, that's great. I mean, I would have never known that, because the only thing I've ever heard this whole time is that no, it's not possible. We don't have the vocal cords. Some people even said things like, oh, they have 2 sets of vocal cords, yada yada, all that stuff.
There's certain things that we look for in the signature that might suggest something along the lines of what orangutans can do. Like some of the long howls at the end, there's a shift that a human would be hard pressed to do. There's a shift in tone where if you were an adult orangutan male and you have the extra air sac, you can maintain that. So stuff like that, yes, I agree. There are certain characteristics to their vocalizations that when you're looking at it, those are the things you look for. Especially, it's exciting when you get one that's close and you can actually get a full signature that includes your includes not only the fundamental, but the oh gosh, I just blanked. But the harmonics. Okay. When you look in the spectrum, you'll have the fundamental will be your hardest hitting lower mark, and then it'll have a set of harmonics that rises above it. And all mammals, that's math. You can mathematically calculate where those harmonics are. It's called the attenuated fundamental, and some of our suspect howls, especially with long howls, the math doesn't add up. It doesn't add up like it should. The harmonics are landing where they shouldn't. They're not supposed to be landing. So that's one of the things I look for. But with, like I said, the further one's out, the fewer harmonics you see. If you don't see any harmonics on your vocalization, you can't do that. And so it's one of those things you got to use common sense. If you got people in the area, you always got to take that in consideration. You got to think about the situation you're in and where you're recording and what's more probable. Is it more probable that it's a human being, or is it more probable that it's an unknown? And that's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much across the board with this subject, right? There's no factual scientific basis for most of this stuff. It's just, what's the Occam's razor, what's the most probable thing that's happening here. That's with everything. Is it more probable that people are going out in the woods and making giant tree structures in the middle of nowhere, or is it more probable that there's an undiscovered bipedal, hominid out there that's doing it? I don't know a whole lot of people that go in the middle of the woods, miles and miles off trail, and decide to go pick up trees and try to shove them up in other trees and make elaborate formations, where most people are not going to find them. Just like I don't know many people who are going out and real deep in the woods of Washington State and screaming at the top of their lungs, trying to sound like, some kind of primate. But that's just me. So I may be a little biased here.
Yeah. It's always, you got to take all aspects of everything into consideration.
Sure. Kaiju Ninja wants to know, Can you please talk about the distance of recorder distorting voices? You told me in a comment that at a certain distance of a digital recorder, human voices can be distorted.
Well, yeah, you can have. So during the night, the atmosphere changes. And when the atmosphere changes, cooler temperatures, sound carries further. So you can have an audio recorder. Oh, let's say, like I have one over here. It's probably 200 feet outside our camp, and it's recording. I have it set up so it's recording nonstop while we're out here. During the day, me and Shane will sound a lot further away, and at night we'll sound a lot closer to that recorder just from the atmospheric change. And different things can um, affect human voices.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Alex. Hey, what's up, Alex? Alex Petikoff. He wants to know. He says, not sure how much I missed if this was discussed prior, but ask Chris to discuss the year-round audio recording at the OP Nest site. Super cool stuff. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So back in 2020, Shane talked about the nest that he and Todd walked in being built. And that actually, where I'm camped right now. That's maybe 300 yards that way, in the ravine. And when that happened, I was supposed to be with him. I couldn't make it. I came up 3 weeks later and brought what I call an LTR out, long-term recorder, or LDR. Back east they call them LDR. Same thing. I'm using basically the same equipment they are, and it's basically a recorder with a time record function. I usually set it from dusk till dawn, and I put one of those out, and we captured some audio. The week after they found the nest, Shane was actually out here pretty much camping the whole week, and he captured some really good stuff with just a Tascam. But I started talking to Wes Liam from Squatcher Matrix. You'll see him on Facebook and Instagram. He is a statistical analysis. That's his day job. He actually does statistics for soccer teams over in Europe. And so he likes numbers. He likes spreadsheets. And we were talking, and we'd done some stuff together from my original area where I recorded. And we were talking, he's like, it'd be cool. We should do a spreadsheet and log all the owls as well. And I'm like, well, if we're going to do that, let's actually log every sound that's occurring and get to know every animal that's out here. Because once you get to know the known animals in an area, it's a lot easier to pick out the unknown. And so next thing you know, in 2021, I'm putting 3 recorders out here, and with the LTRs, about the most we could get at that time was between 20 and 30 nights. Of course, in cold weather, they don't last near as long. And I upgraded them. I changed their power sources, and I managed to get them to max out in the summertime close to 40, in wintertime close to 30. But I was I didn't like the quality of the audio, so I dumped some money into what are called SM4s that an outfit called Wildlife Acoustics makes, and they actually make audio recorders for scientists, and these are used by biologists around the world. There's a French primatologist that actually uses them in Africa to track chimp movements, because bonobos hate game cameras. They will avoid game cameras like the plague, and it's easier for her to track the movements of the bonobos using these audio recorders than it is game cameras. Kind of sound familiar?
Sounds very familiar.
Anyways, these recorders they're really expensive, but well worth it. I mean, high quality mics. You can, if you have enough power, they have enough memory to go months on end. I have mine set up. I have 2 now, but I have mine set up where with 2 128 gig cards in them, I can get about 48 nights. Wow. And then they'll hold 2 terabytes. So like I said, you could go, it becomes a power issue then, but we try to, anyways, I put out these, I got 2 SM4s out here. We put those out in 2021, and we managed to record 58% of all the nights in 2021. And I review it, I log everything into a spreadsheet, and then Wes does his statistical analysis. And he adds stuff like weather and moon phase and all that. I plug in the time, the date, the species, what kind of call it was, and whether we were present or not. I also keep track of the lowest hertz and the highest hertz on the individual vocal. If it's a howl, I keep track of the length of the howl. I plug it all in the spreadsheet, and then he runs statistics on it. And he did a light analysis of 2021, which is on the OP website right now. You can go look at, and it'll show you some interesting statistics we found related to the unknown audio in the area. That was 2021. I just finished reviewing 2022, and in 2022, I managed to capture every single night. And so I'm sure Wes is mad at me because I'm caught up on the spreadsheet up to, I think, August. I still have to plug in all the information onto the spreadsheet till now, and then he can start messing with it. And probably by the end of this year, there'll be another analysis posted on his page and on the OP website.
That's insane. That's
Yeah.
That's so much information, man. So much valuable information, but so much information. I mean, that's got to take so much time, and
Well,
I couldn't do it. My ADD bars me from doing anything that intricate. I'd go nuts.
Let's just say I pretty much, for the past 2 years, I've reviewed audio every night, at least a couple hours a night. So
You got to enjoy it. I mean, if to do this
Oh, yeah.
this often, it has to be something that you're passionate about.
Oh, absolutely. You would go crazy if you did not like it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll get burnt out on it. There's been times where
Sure.
I have to take a break, and I'll go crappie fishing and forget about Bigfoot for a day or two, but it's always there, and it's, something you got to get through. Like I said, I'm reviewed up to, we got recorders going right now. There's one back behind me we serviced today, and we're not, now that we got 2022 done, we're not going to go as in depth as we have been, but we're still going to maintain an audio presence out here, and we'll keep track of unknowns, but I'm not going to be going in as depth for logging everything like I have been from now on. It's enough, but I'm looking at other areas. It would be nice to do the same project in other areas. Then you can compare this area with that area and see if there's similarities and see what the differences are too. I'm just as interested in what differences might be found as
Sure.
similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I think a lot of us know, you hear there's physical differences between the Pacific Northwest and the East Coast or Florida. So why couldn't there be other differences or vocally even? But it's also intriguing. Can you tell now from the analysis and from all of this data that you've gathered? Can you tell how many potential Sasquatch may be in this area?
Right now, I'm operating, but just based upon the audio, I'm fairly certain there's 3 individuals that pass through this area I'm in right now on a pretty regular basis. I have, out of 2 years of recording, I have 2 nights where there's definitely more, but the rest of the time, it's basically been 3 different individuals that have vocalized. And I was lucky enough. I don't get a lot. I get enough, but I've been lucky enough to capture a few nights where all 3 individuals vocalized around the same time. So I knew it was 3 different individuals. And we've heard stuff in person out here as well. So
What are the things that like one would one would look for or listen for, somebody who has no idea about this at all, and then they're out camping in the woods, and this is their first time watching a show about Sasquatch. What would you tell them to listen for or look for?
Uh, Percussive sounds that by far they make more knocks than they do vocalizations.
Hmm.
Percussives accompanied by like a whoop, that's a real common thing, and that's something I look for. I get excited about. But yeah, if you're just out camping, that's the thing. Most sounds that they make get mistaken for other things quite
Right.
often. And usually, if they're gonna, like, when we come in here, there's times where we've come in and gotten out of the rigs and there's a whoop right away or a knock. And so different areas, at least, and that's the thing. That's this area. The individuals in this area, they don't make a lot of vocals, and most of the vocals they make are whoop and knock related. We get a lot of tree pushovers.
Hmm.
Uh, I tree pushovers are a thing all over the place. I've got people who, I mean, have tree pushovers in other areas of the country a lot, and
Oh
when
yeah.
you get tree pushovers and whoops and maybe a scream or a roar. We get roars out here, and um, things like that. But there's almost always there's going to be some percussive sounds along with the vocalizations. And a lot of times there'll be just percussive sounds.
Yeah, yeah. We I think everywhere anyone I've talked to who's ever had who's been doing this for a while, the tree breaking or the branch breaking is something that I think everybody has heard at some point. It's just so like it rattles you when you're there and you hear what sounds like a fresh tree. I mean, these things are alive; they're not dead. When they break, it's this crack, 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 bow, like just
Oh yeah,
echoes, and man, it goes right into your bones.
I had in 2018, my fiance and I were camping with Nathaniel Bronis in the Central Cascades area, and it was wintertime, and we were in an area that had a history of reports in the winter. And I'm not big on night hikes. Me and Shane, we're more about doing a lot of hiking during the day and then coming back to camp. But Nathaniel he's into night hikes, and we have thermals. And so I'm like, okay, we'd cooked up a bunch of bacon and he'd made a couple knocks at camp, and we decided to go out, and we're hiking up this road, and it is 39 degrees and slightly drizzling. I had just a Flare Scout, and anybody that's had a Flare Scout will say the same thing. They're pieces of crap. Don't buy one. You can't see, you could hardly see anything. I could see the road and I could see us basically. But we stopped about 3/4 miles away from our camp, and Nathaniel's like, I'm going to do 3 knocks. And we're like, okay. And he does 3 knocks. And anyways, I just heard something. Anyways, does 3 knocks, and we're sitting there pitch black. We turned off our headlamps, and we're just sitting there. And Rebecca, she goes, that was, and right as she's saying something, pow. And I'm not kidding you. It was a branch break percussive is all I can describe it, but it sounded like a gunshot. And
Yeah.
it went off probably within 100 feet of us. And I literally jumped. And I'm like, oh God. I mean, I was like, what the heck? And there's some curse words that happened, but I have it all recorded. I played it on Alex's show a couple years ago. But anyways, Nathaniel gets all excited. And
Did you hear something?
yeah.
Come on.
Anyways, Nathaniel gets all excited, And we sat there, and we could hear movement down below us because we were right on a ridge line, and it was all heavy second growth forest. Couldn't see anything, but we could hear something pacing back and forth below us and something moving above us. And we sat there for, oh God, probably an hour, and finally went back to camp. Nothing else happened. But that break percussive was so freaking powerful. Like you said, I mean, you could feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was sitting there, Rebecca's holding on to my Carhartt, and I'm spinning circles in the middle of the logging road with my thermal, just looking everywhere. And the thing, like, I'm going in there. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going in there, because I'm not going in there after you if you break a leg.
Yeah, it's terrifying, man, when that noise happens and you're not, I mean, there's no way you can expect it, but I had it happen, not that crazy, but I had it happen to me. Oh gosh, it was probably about a month and a half ago. What's crazy is the place that I go to is the state forest here in Connecticut. It's in the northeastern corner. Obviously during the winter, it's not busy. It's pretty quiet. Even though this has been a pretty mild winter. So this particular day, I had been going every week, every Saturday and Sunday for months, and had been getting some stuff happening, percussive stuff. I got pine cones tossed at me a couple times. You'd hear movement in the bushes. I see your eyes going everywhere. Are you hearing something?
I'm looking at Shane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you spun around before, and I'm like, oh my God, if there's a noise, this thing lets off right now.
Pretty sure it was Shane was coming up behind me and freaked me out. So.
Oh gosh.
Oh, he's okay.
So yeah, I've been going to this place for a while, and you can almost kind of get a sense of when things are might be a little more active. Certain weather thing, sometimes when it's cold, when it's raining, not so much. But I had gotten out of the car. I literally just gotten out, and I took like my first 2 steps into the wood line. I live stream everything. Every time I'm there, I'm live. Every time. So I just hit the live stream. I'm on there for 2 minutes. And I even sat down on a rock to fix stuff in my pack because I wasn't expecting anything. And all of a sudden, like from my 2 o'clock, I heard this crack, crack, pow. And it's same thing. I must have I jumped right up. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I'm telling everybody in the thing, and I'm like, something just snapped a branch. Something just snapped a branch, and then just went barreling in that direction. Unfortunately, nothing happened after that for the rest of the day, which was so
That's
disappointing.
usually what happens.
Yep.
It's usually it's kind of an acknowledgement. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. A lot of times when you get a power strike or a power knock, that's them just saying, oh, there's humans here, and they go on their way.
Yeah, right.
We get that. We've had that happen out here. I've had that happen in almost every area that I've done any long-term investigation. At some point in time, we get a power strike close to us. I get them next to my recorders. It's them acknowledging human thing or human presence, and then they go about doing whatever they're going to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's in their nature to not make as much, make as little noise as possible. My buddy Fresh, he wants to know, Chris, have you ever recorded anything underground at all?
Not that I'm aware of. Most of my recorders are above ground, so I'm not sure if he means something underground making noise, or.
Yeah, Fresh. What do you mean, buddy? Like animals, or are you talking some kind of crazy noise coming from in the earth? Elaborate a little, so I know. But yeah, so the do you guys now, like the percussive thing is obviously this is something that's very common. People use this tree knocking thing as a means of research technique often. I don't do it often. It's not my thing. Once in a great while, I will. And it's more so of like if they do it and they do it a few times, I may give one back as like my sign of acknowledgement. Like, okay, thank you. You know,
So
here's
I'm like on the fence with that. For years I'm always been, just because I'm always recording. I've always been really against making any kind of sounds that they make, because
mm,
I want, when I have my audio, I want to be able to say, okay, this is all unknown. We didn't create any of these sounds. I don't want any mistaking that. That being said, I have friends that have had success in doing knocking and getting responses and even getting vocalizations from doing that. I've knocked before. I've done knocking experiments and all that, but it's not something that I go back and forth with. I feel like, I mean, a lot of the situations I've been in, the knocks have occurred when we first shown up to a place, or when we are obviously on our way back to our trucks. Like
mm,
me and Shane, just north of here, were hiking with Derek a couple years ago, and we were exploring a new ravine. And as we came out of that ravine, we came into a fresh clear cut, and about 100 yards from us was a timber line. As we came out and became visible from the ravine, something knocked from that timber line, and I felt like that was an acknowledgement. Oh, I see them, there they are. um, but as far as eliciting stuff with it, I've not done a lot of that. I've been with people when they've done it, and like I just told you that story, Nathaniel did 3 knocks, and we sat there for, it was probably 3 minutes. I believe that's what it took, 3 minutes before that happened. So they were in the area, and they came in because of Nathaniel's knock and did that huge power strike next to us, and but then nothing else happened. So I think it was more like they heard Nathaniel knock, came in and investigated, and said, "Oh, stupid humans, whack," and that was it. But I can only go by my experience, and I know people
sure.
that have had experiences where they've been knocking back and forth with these things over long periods of time.
Yeah.
So I can only base what my view on it is by my experience. So I could
Yeah.
change my opinion on it.
Right, right. Yeah, like I said, I don't do it often. Whatever works for you. I mean, that's just how this is, right? Whatever works best for you, whatever feels right to you. There's no right or wrong answers here. Not until somebody's got one of these things in their shed and they can ask it questions and say, "Hey, Billy, what do you think knocking? We should knock back at you guys or what?" And then Billy goes, "Yeah, no, not a good idea, pal. Don't do that."
I
There's
I
no
kind
real.
I kind of suspect it depends on the area and the group of animals that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If it's a group of animals that doesn't hasn't had a lot of human contact, you might get a lot more reaction from it. But if it's a group of animals where there are bigfooters going on a regular basis, those animals tend to be super stealth. They tend to shut up. They stop making noise. I've seen it in several areas in Washington State where 10 years ago you could go record incredible vocals there, and now it's silent. We know they're still there because tracks are still found, and every so often you'll get something audio wise, but virtually nothing. They're making no sound at all because so many people are going up there howling and knocking. I've seen that happen. So that's
Yeah.
kind of why I shy away from it. Not to say that that's going to happen in every instance, but I've seen that happen here in Washington State with several areas.
Makes sense. Makes sense. The other thing too that people hypothesized is uh, that maybe we don't know what they mean when they do these things. We don't know one knock, two knock, three knock. One knock can mean high, two knock can mean something aggressive, and then you mimic that at the wrong time with the wrong creature, and who knows what happens. It's there's just a lot of questions, and when you're talking about a 7 to 10 foot tall, 1,000 pound, mostly undiscovered primate, human, whatever, it's scary. It can get scary. So I understand why some people don't do it and why others do. I get it. Guys, real quick, if you have questions, please put them in caps. I try my best to follow as much as I can with the chat. It's really difficult. Like I said, I did a live just the other day about it because somebody got all pissy because I wasn't paying attention enough to the chat. But it's difficult. And when I have a guest here, I don't like to focus as much on the chat because I feel like it's rude to keep my eyes over there all the time. So I'm trying my best here. So if you can put them in caps and I can catch them, I promise you I will ask the questions. Kaiju wants to know, what kind of speech chatter have you heard and recorded? How would you compare it to the Sierra sounds? Good question.
I have only recorded, let's see, 2 instances. One was back in 2016. That was down by Mount St. Helens where I first started recording. And then I've gotten one bit of audio up here that I recorded this time last year. And they were, I don't know. they sound like Sierra sounds. They sounded like Sierra vocalizations. It's something that I've always been on the fence with, and I've always said until I've recorded it myself, I'm not gonna say yay or nay about it. But I've recorded 2 times. It's rare, and I have to say that I think the sounds are legit because some of what I recorded are similar to that type of garbled goobly gaw. But and a lot of people have heard it. My fiance Rebecca, her first experience was she heard Sierra sound like vocalizations over a period of time. Something walked her and her ex-husband out of an area doing those kind of sounds. I talked to Monongahela about it and David Ellis about it, and Monongahela said something that really hit home with me. He's like, those sounds are close communications, whereas, like I said before, most of what we record out here is communication that's meant to go a distance, like howls. Even whoops can go a further distance, but those sounds were meant for close communication. So in order to capture those sounds, you got to have a recorder really close. And that's why we don't have very many examples of it. But I'm not sure how else to describe it. I mean, I put the one I captured up here is on my YouTube, and the one I captured in 2016 is called Mr. Grumpy Pants. It's on my YouTube channel too, if someone wants to check it out. And that one's just it's basically there's a couple whistles and then just this. It's weird.
Yeah, go check those out. I definitely watched the Mr. Grumpy Pants one. I'll have to go check out the other one. And we linked Chris's channel is in this chat. Thank you guys for doing that. Also, the Olympic Project website is linked in the description. So if you guys want, pop over there, check that out. It's an awesome site. And yeah, go. That video is pretty cool. Let me see. Fresh. So Fresh did elaborate on his question about underground sounds. He meant, yes, anything that's like caves, mines, under the surface, tunnels, anything like that.
So none of the, I've never recorded anywhere near where there's any kind of caves that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So I can say no on that.
All right. So that's a no. So the back to the chatter stuff, because I think the chatter stuff is so it's really crazy. That the thing that I learned watching some of Scott's stuff, right, watching him break this stuff down, is what you were just talking about, is that these communications are meant to be like, for them, almost face to face.
Yeah.
Having a conversation like you and I are having right now. And you can even tell with the inflection and the tone in those recordings, the Sierra sounds, especially, you've been broken down so many times. There's parts in there where you can tell that there's something asking a question. I mean, if I ask you a question, I'm going to say, hey, Chris, what was it like being in the woods for the last week? The tone of my voice and the inflection is totally different than me saying, it's been cool being in the woods for the last week. You can tell, and you can hear that in those recordings where something is asking a question, something is laughing, even, it sounds like. I mean, it speaks to a level of intelligence that's just mind-blowing when you think about it. But that, now, that part, do you think humans can mimic even that stuff? Even the chatter?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know a guy that's mimicked that stuff. It's people are capable of doing it.
Then why do these guys continue to say it's not possible?
Because it makes it more mysterious and more entertaining.
Fits what they want and what they need at the moment.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna. I think there's something to the Sierra sounds. You got knocks and you got whoops in those too. It's not just the chatter. You've got stuff that we consider part of the lexicon of Sasquatch in there. So, and now obviously I've recorded 2 times. I've recorded something very similar. So, and I know people I trust, people I love, who have heard it. So I believe there's legitimacy to that. But to say that humans can't do it, it's not true. Period.
Yeah.
I know a guy that can do it. Who's done it? So
can we get him on the show?
You know, I've watched some of the older documentaries where they have these scientists come on and they're sound experts. Even now, today's TV show, and trust me, people, if it's on TV, don't believe it, because it's there for making money for whoever produced that TV show.
Right.
If you watch anything that talks about audio on TV and you have a sound expert comes on and it shows a waveform picture of audio and just squiggly lines going up and down, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, because you can't tell anything from that. That's not a spectrogram. Now, when a scientist who's a sound expert comes on and shows a spectrogram with signatures on it, then I'll listen. But so far, everybody that I've seen on TV or in these documentaries show this picture, and even some of the YouTubers with just this wave where it's just an up and down line. You can't tell anything from that. You cannot tell anything from that. That's just talking out their ass, basically. So,
but see, for this is where this all gets so cloudy, though, because I may have my skill set may lend itself to this one area, right? Not audio. So maybe it's tracking. Let's just say your skill set lends itself to the audio side of things. I haven't done much, learning about the audio because I haven't had to. Maybe that's my bad. I don't know. But there's so many people out there that don't even get as deep as we get, or as I get, which I think I don't call myself a researcher for a reason. I don't think I'm a researcher. I think I'm somebody who's a passion for this. I love the subject. It's so much fun for me being out in the woods, looking, listening, trying to build some kind of relationship with these beings, this race of hominid. And if I find things along the way, then amazing. But for the other people who just literally, it's just a thing that they do from the couch, and they don't know any better. When you have people out there who are claiming these things, it muddies the water so much. I'm going to say a name right now. I don't really give a shit because it's my channel and I can. I used to watch Thinker Thunker's channel constantly, and
I did too.
Dude. And one of the things that he did all the time was he would bring up this sound stuff, and he would constantly show these pictures of these crazy things to somebody like me. I'm looking at it, I'm going, whoa, like, wow, that seems legit. The more you find out, no, not so much.
I look, there's like my YouTube channel, my whole point of that channel, you'll notice there's a lot of known animal stuff on there, and I put up a spectrogram with everything I do. I want to help people who are interested in this, interested in the geeky stuff I'm interested in, I want to show them, because I've made the same mistakes. I've had confirmation bias. I don't know how many times, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know, for a year I thought this one particular elk was a Sasquatch. It wasn't. It was an elk that made a particularly unusual moaning call, and I figured it out. And the first thing I did when I figured it out, I told everybody and made a YouTube about it. But you got to take everything with a grain of salt. If you just want to, if you're not really into digging in deep on stuff, I get watching the YouTube stuff, because and there's a lot of people out there who physically can't come out and do what we're doing.
Right.
And I just, for those people, take everything with a grain of salt, and don't just take someone's word for it, and there are good people out there trying to put together good YouTube stuff, and usually the stuff that's the boringest is probably the most truthful. If it's
True.
really entertaining, if what you're watching is really entertaining, there's probably some tall tales in there.
Yeah, stuff gets sensationalized. People do it for the wrong reasons. It becomes about money. It becomes about ego. Fame. I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I
It's
think
unfortunate.
it's more of attention. Everybody has this desire to get attention, especially in this day and age. We live in a culture where it's me, 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 look at me, and our entertainment reflects that.
Sure, yeah, but here, this is a word I love. Okay, and we use it often. Me and my buddy Fresh, who's in the chat section right now, and it's lacking. It's sorely lacking across the board. And the word is integrity,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It's especially when you're talking about something like this, where people are the good ones are trying so hard, money out of your own pocket, time out of your own day, or your year, when you're talking about having to go back in the woods and change the recorders every how often, and then sit down and go through the all the audio, day after day, month after month. It's time, it's money, it's blood, sweat, and tears. It's time away from your family, where your wife gets upset because you're not spending enough time with her, or you're not getting to spend enough time with your kids. This is the stuff that the people in this community who are really trying to figure this thing out, who are really trying to further this, are giving every single day. And for when the people who are don't have integrity, it slows the progress so much, because while Chris might be out there on his channel and he's sharing the real shit, right, whether it's boring or not, the people are going, yeah, well, I'm gonna go watch this guy because this guy is doing what TV does. He's sensationalizing things. He's editing video to look a certain way and sound a certain way, and making it for entertainment. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It gets frustrating.
I believe me, I get frustrated. You can ask Shane and Todd. I daily throw a little fit about something I hear, but Todd specifically PMs me stuff that he knows will get me going. But at the end of the day, I try to just, I ignore it, and I'm doing this because I have a passion for it.
Right.
I've had experiences. I don't need any magic to this. What's more, I mean, it's absolutely astounding to me that there is an unidentified primate walking around North America, and to be a part of investigating that to the best of my ability, I couldn't ask for anything more. I like doing it. I think we are making the subject is going forward. Unlike a lot of people think that we're not making any progress, we are.
Yes, we are.
I mean, the right people, we are collaborating. We are talking to each other. We know more today than we did when the Patterson Gimlin film was filmed. We do.
Absolutely.
And science isn't like, it's not fast. It takes decades for science to change. It takes, hundreds of years for attitudes to change. I look at this as a long long-term thing. Whether what I'm doing, I don't look as like what I'm doing right now is going to prove anything, but what I hope to do is do quality investigation, and hopefully maybe someone a lot smarter than me 10,
Mm.
20 years, 30 years down the road will be able to take what I'm doing and look at it from a different perspective and say, "Oh," and do something that I couldn't see myself. I've always looked at it as if, okay, I'm doing the best I can with what I'm doing, what I enjoy to do, and hopefully somebody else will be able to do something more with it down the road. I don't look at it as I'm going to discover something right now. I look at it as science. It's a repetition of mistakes and learning. That's how you learn. So anyway, there's my soapbox.
No, I think you made a great point. You're right. It does take time. Um, and we talk about it often on the channel, that, if you're not having fun with this, um, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons then,
Yep.
right? If
Yep.
if you still don't have that feeling that you had the first time that you saw a picture of the Loch Ness monster, or when you first saw the Patty film, if you don't get excited at the prospect of what you said, there's still an undiscovered giant roaming our woods in North America. If you don't get excited, if you can't make that fun, then you're probably in this for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Um, Let me get some questions here from the chat, because I just read one. Kaiju has a great question. Um, Chris, why is collecting audio important, and what do you tell the people who think it isn't?
It's absolutely important because it's part of the picture. You know, like I said at the beginning, and this is from David Ellis, it's one thing to sit around a campfire and tell people about what you heard in the woods that one time and had something scream at you or had something knock at you. It's another thing when you can play that back for them.
Mm.
Uh, it's it's as far as I'm concerned, audio is valid evidence. It's trackable evidence. When you put it in spectrogram, you have specific signatures that are just like footprints in the ground, except they're sound. And known animals have specific signatures. Our target subjects have specific signatures that we look for, that I've learned, with the help of David Ellis and Monongahela. It takes time differentiating certain howls and stuff from canine and what's primate like. Like I have some, my on my YouTube, it's called Chimp Fit. I picked up some chimp sounds from the Macaulay Library Sound, and those signatures match up with the chimpanzee sounds. So it's very viable. That's I lose my train of thought. It is part of the bigger picture. It's not going to prove anything, but when, let's say, like out here in the nest area, well, we have these mysterious nests that are not bear nests that were constructed. We have unknown primate hair collected from those nests. We have track impressions collected from around those nests. We have a hand impression collected around those nests. Last year, I cast a good track impression from the nest area. And then on top of it, we also have this audio of something that sounds like a gorilla sometimes, a chimpanzee sometimes, and I don't know what other times. So that builds a better case for there being a Sasquatch running around the area than if all we had was just the audio, or all we had was just the nest, or all we had were just the prints. But you put all those things together, that is what is going to get the right people in academia more interested in this subject.
Yeah, an abundance of evidence is what it
Yeah.
comes down to, right? Great answer. I got a question for you. If so, let's say somebody like me, right? I don't have the time. I don't have a team. It's just me by myself all the time, right? So I try to do what I can. I try to bring the equipment that I can. I can't afford $3,000 thermals and all that stuff. If I'm going out in the woods and I want to leave a recorder out for a week or so, do you know of a good, reasonably priced recorder for just your regular everyday guy who wants to go out there and maybe try to catch something?
So some people like Zooms. I've always had Tascam DRO5, and they sell an extra battery pack, external battery pack you can power them with. I think they're around 90 to $100. They record quality audio. They are power hogs. They do not have a time record function, so they just record 24/7. But with an extra power pack, when I was originally doing, I was getting 3 days and 2 nights with it. I've since you can run them bus power. So I take one of those DRO5s, like I have one going now when I go camping, and I use a Milwaukee cordless drill battery. It's an 18-volt battery that has a USB adapter to it. I plug it into that. That recorder will record for 4 days straight.
Whoa.
So yeah, I always, when someone asks me what kind of recorder should I get to go put out there, I always say Tascam, because they're at the low end of price wise, but they do record quality audio, good enough for what we're doing, good enough for what you're trying to do. And if you want to extend the amount of time you get with them, it is possible. So you can run them USB.
Do you recommend an external mic on those too, or just as it is?
No, just the mics on the recorder. Just the mics on the recorder. Okay. With my LTRs, I'm using an Olympus 720 DM. It has a time record function. I'm keeping those. I use ammo can boxes. Some people make PVC pipe holders for them to keep them out of the weather. Those I do buy separate mics for, because I'm containing the recorder and the power source so it doesn't get wet, and then I run the microphones out, and I waterproof the microphones. I usually put a little thin plastic over the mics that keeps the water out of them. But those I will buy external mics. But if you're just starting out, don't worry about that right now. Just get a Tascam. Just get a Tascam and put it out when you go out camping.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you. Our friends over at Hellbent Holler, actually, you may have just answered at least part of this. What digital audio recorders does Chris use for long duration recording? Does he use something like the Wildlife Acoustics unit, or does he build his own?
So I do both. The ones I build myself, I'm using the Olympus 720 DM. I have some old Olympus LS7s, which I like a lot. They're a lot better, but they don't make them anymore. But I also have two Wildlife Acoustics SM4s, and I also have Wildlife Acoustics SM4 Mini with an extra mic on it, so it's recording a stereo mic. It just doesn't record up to the same hertz levels that the frequency levels that the SM4s do, and it has a smaller battery pack. But in all honesty, the frequency window we're looking at from 0 to 1800 hertz, and the SM4 minis covers that. I think it goes up to 50,000 hertz, and you can't hear anything after 5,000 hertz anyway, so you don't need it. Because they're using those recorders to track frogs and bugs and bats and stuff that are running frequencies that we can't hear.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. What's your thoughts on infrasound? There's a lot of things that people talk about infrasound surrounding Sasquatch, Bigfoot, that they use infrasound, that people get zapped by it. It's disoriented people, made them sick, yada, yada. What are your thoughts? Because this is something that you can pick up on the spectrogram?
Well, with the audio recorders we have, they're not really designed to pick up infrasound. No, infrasound starts at 20 decibels and below, and some of our recorders can pick that up, and you can see that in a spectrogram to a point, but it's not what people are thinking. Not the amount of infrasound that would cause the effects that you're talking about. There are some people I know that have some of the software and microphones that will collect that data, because they can pick up infrasound from seismic activity. There's a lot of things, a lot of man-made sounds, mechanical sounds create a lot of infrasound. I honestly, I don't worry about it. I don't throw it out of the realm of possibility that our target species can do it. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. If they are, I think if they're doing it, it just happens to be that they're doing it. I'm not going to jump on that train. I don't know. I'm not going to say no one's experienced what they experienced, but the same symptoms they describe can be caused by a number of other things besides infrasound, in my opinion.
One of the things that I kind of talk about here, because I something that I've come to believe, and again, we don't all have to believe the same things. We can all disagree on everything, and we're adults, and that's just agree to disagree, and that's fine. But one of the things that after talking to so many people, certain things continue to pop up over and over, right? They overlap each other. And one of those things is EMF. EMF is paranormal investigations, UFO investigations, and Sasquatch investigations. EMF, EMF, EMF. People find spikes of it in places where there's Sasquatch activity. They find it in paranormal investigations, and they find it in places where there's high UFO activity. If you know anything about electromagnetic energy, if you're sensitive to that stuff, it can do a number on you. You'll get sick, you'll get dizzy, some people puke, some people have even feel like they're seeing things that aren't there, hearing things that aren't there. So I don't attribute as much to the infrasound as much as I do to the EMF stuff, just because it's
individual people can be more susceptible to stuff like that than others. So
right, yeah. So let me go back real quick and check this out. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Kaiju, you don't have to apologize, buddy. Most people didn't know like that to put it in caps, so no, don't apologize. It certainly wasn't aimed at you. I just wanted everyone to know that it makes it easier for me if I do see all caps, even though Fresh loves to just throw things in caps because he's a loud Englishman who likes to be heard even in the chat. I'm just kidding, buddy. I love you. So let me ask you, I ask everybody this question. What do you believe these are?
Sasquatch. They're their own thing.
Very good answer.
They're definitely a primate, in my opinion, just like we are. And that's all I can say, because I mean, based on the audio, all the audio that I've collected that I believe is Sasquatch is primate in character. I have stuff that resembles gorilla vocalizations. I have stuff that resembles chimpanzee vocalizations. I have stuff that resembles human type vocalizations. So they're a primate as far as I'm concerned. Other than that, I can't. It's fun to think about the possibilities, but I can't. I mean, I go back and forth all the time with it. I tend to agree with that they are an upright ape of some kind, but so are we. So
true.
That's the best I can do for you on that answer.
No, that's all right. There's no wrong answer, man. That's why I asked, because everybody's got their own answer, and there's just no wrong answer.
Me and Shane talk about it all the time. We're always like, well, they're Sasquatch. That's what they are.
True. That's what they are. You're right. It's true. They are Sasquatch.
Don't put Sasquatch in a box, because we really don't know very much.
Right. Absolutely. I'm just trying to read Alex's comment here. Scott from Bigfoot Mapping Project recently told me he heard an alligator bellow, and it rocked him to the core, made him have primal fear. Interesting parallel to what people say with Bigfoot. Gators apparently use infrasound. The question is if it's intentional. Very good. Yeah, that's true.
I think alligators do use it in a form of communication, just like elephants do, and obviously tigers. I think the whole thing with Sasquatch, that people found out that tigers do it to disable their prey, and that makes Sasquatch a whole lot scarier if that's happening.
Right. Yeah. People ran with it.
Yeah.
And then somebody said that's not even true, that they don't do it to disable their prey. They use it in a different way.
Yeah. So who knows? I'm just, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't say they can't do it, but if they're doing it, I don't think they're doing it for any malicious purposes such as zapping it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Who knows? You guys, if you got any more questions, please put them in the chat because we're not going to be here all night. Kaiju wants to know, has Chris ever had a sighting? Have you?
So
my cat won't shut up.
That's all right. Sounds like one of my cats. Luckily, my cat. Oh, of course, we did get a cougar on camera last week out here. So, anyways, sighting. I had a possible, I don't know, sighting. One of those sightings that really makes you mad type things last summer. We were just over that way, and Wes, who from Squatcher Matrix, he'd flown out from England, and we brought him in here to service audio, and we'd gone down to the original nest area, and Shane and taken Wes all the way down to the creek. Rebecca, she had gone down to where the nests were, and she was watching Shane and Wes from the ridge top. I was about 50 yards above her on a little flatter area in a cleared out spot, just taking a break. And I'd set this thing down behind me. It's got the lens on it. I carry it around here for a reason, for just such an occasion. I set it down, grabbed a bottle of water, and I looked up the ridge, and I was following the edge of this finger we were on. I could see where it dropped down and went to another finger. And right at the edge, I came to a spot about 70 yards out that was just black. And it just stood out. It did not match any of the shadows in the canopy where I was at. And it was up against a tree, and it looked like a head and a shoulder up against this tree. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's got to be a burnout stump or something. And I'm just staring at it. It's not moving. It did not move, but it was black like a black bear. It wasn't shaped like a black bear. And I've run into black bear before. Black bears usually don't hold perfectly still. And I watched it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to grab my camera and zoom in on it, and it's going to be a stump. I turn around and grab my camera, turn back around, and it's gone. And I'm pissed. And about that time, Rebecca comes up, and she looks at me, and she goes, what happened? And I start to tell her, and she goes, hold on. She started videoing me while I'm telling what I saw. And as I'm telling her that, we hear a knock from that direction. And we both heard it. Her phone actually picked it up. I have it on my audio recorder that I had on my head. And then she was hearing movement in the huckleberry, because it's all huckleberry in there. She was hearing movement going away from us in the huckleberry. Wes and Shane came up. Shane tried to get out there. He didn't get quite out to where it was. And Shane's 6 foot, and all we could barely see the top of his head, because he was pretty much even with all the huckleberry. This was a good 2 feet above the huckleberry, up against a tree. Was it a Sasquatch? I don't know, but I'm really mad I did not have my camera around my neck.
Dang.
So that's why the camera's sitting next to me in this chair right now. That camera goes everywhere with me now.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah.
Dang,
so
that sucks.
I just because of the knock and the movement away and where we were at, I'd like to think it was one, but I can't say it was one. It was just too far from my eyes to tell. But whatever it was pretty creepy that it disappeared like that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give you a pass. I'm gonna say it was probably a Sasquatch. You add up all the add up all the stuff, and I would say it was one. Fresh, man, buddy. Me and you are gonna have to have a talk tomorrow morning, giving me crap because I missed a question a couple times. You're gonna get your wrench taken, or maybe I'll just cast you away from the chat. Country Boy, what's up, buddy? He wants to know, Chris, what are Chris's thoughts on interdimensional and portal or UFO theories involving Bigfoot?
That's not my stuff. I don't really entertain that. I mean, I know there are people that are into that, but I'm strictly into recordable data and what I can make sense of, the old fashioned
Tangible stuff.
tangible stuff. So I don't even really pay attention to any of that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Carson wants to know, and this probably is kind of along the same lines, but I'm going to ask anyway. What does Chris think about Native American beliefs on Sabe Sasquatch?
Well, Native Americans have been here longer than us, and I think there's a lot of information that can be taken from their stories and are very applicable to what we're seeing out here. So
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I mean, it's no coincidence that all of these different tribes across North America who at one point in time could not communicate with each other, right? Not the tribe on the West Coast wasn't communicating with the tribe on the East Coast, but
yep.
they all somehow share this creature.
Yeah, I encourage everybody, if you haven't read it, read Kathy Strain's Monsters, Cannibals, and Giants book.
Oh,
Kathy is an anthropologist, and she basically wrote down every Native American story there is relating to Sasquatch in North America. It's a great book. And she wrote it like an anthropologist would. She just wrote down the stories. She didn't try to interpret them or nothing. But she's got pretty much all the tribes on the West Coast and their stories of their different Sasquatch creatures. So,
what was the name of it? What was it?
it's written by Kathy Strain,
Yeah.
and it's called it's Cannibals, Monsters, and Giants, or a variation of that.
Monsters and Giants. Okay. Sorry, I wanted to put it in my phone so that I could go get it.
It tells you all, and it gives you the different names and every tribe from, I believe from Mexico up through British Columbia. It gives their different individual tribal stories on the subject. It's a great book. She was actually on Sasquatch Treks recently, the latest podcast for them. So
okay, right on.
That I encourage you guys to listen to that too.
Right on. Sharon, we'll just do a couple more and then I'll get you out of here. I usually do about 90 minutes and then we're good.
Good, because I'm getting cold.
All right, yeah, we'll get you out of here. We'll get you out of here. Sharon wants to know, do you think there are more Bigfoot sightings in certain types of forests over others?
Not necessarily. That's a good question. Because I think there's just as many sightings back east in hardwood forests as there are here in the Pacific Northwest. The thing about sightings, like Matthew Pruitt always says, there's got to be a Sasquatch and there's got to be a person there to see it. And then I don't necessarily think it's going to be one forest over another. If you really look at it, I think the vast majority of sightings are road crossings. So,
right. That's the most documented.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
So, hey, Rebecca, how are you? Becca's here. She says she has the video Chris mentioned on YouTube. It's unedited and unlisted. I can send a link to a mod if anyone is interested. Send it to Fresh, or is Sandy still here? Can she send it to one of you guys so we can get that video? You don't have to necessarily show it now. I can post it. I can make a post and put it on the channel so Chris can get going. I know he's cold. Ron, hey Ron, how are you, buddy? Let me see. Ron wants to know, why has he seen all different types of shows and channels YouTube that Bigfoots are attracted to females? Well, I got my own theories about this. I think most people do. Hormonal things, I think, probably play a factor in this. You can smell the hormones. The other thing I believe personally is that if you watch, and I think they watch us a lot, if they watch, they see, men doing men stuff, which is usually good, cutting trees down, hunting things, hurting things. And then they see women and children who are more nurturing and kind and caring. I mean, it's less threatening
I will say this. I mean, when I first started going
and
out,
prettier.
yeah, I talked about this with Shane and other friends and stuff. And you think about it, you see, when I first, in my first area, I called it Area X and X1, basically. I was going in there a lot with my son, who at the time was 13, going on 25. But he was smaller than me, and we had a couple interesting experiences with knocking. Um, and then I had times where I went in with female friends, and let's just say every time that I had any kind of real interesting experience in that area, I either had my son with me or I had a woman with me. Now, when I went in, only one time did I go in with a male friend that we encountered. We had whistles going off, but when you look, if you think about it, if they've been around here watching Native Americans and watching now Europeans, for hundreds and thousands of years, you see two guys walking in the woods. One might be carrying a rifle or a walking stick or whatever. That's a hunting party. Now you see a guy with a kid and a female. That's a family unit. That's less threatening. That's easier to get close to. I absolutely believe that comes into play. And Rebecca, who was just on, she's our Bigfoot bait. Stuff happens when we bring her out. it's it's just the first time I took her out into the area I used to go into, X1, we had whistles go off, and so there's something to it. I think it's less threatening. Women are less threatening, and there might be a hormonal thing going into it. I'm absolutely on the same page as you.
Yeah. I mean, this is another one of those things where the stories just continue over and over. People say, like, hey, there's women around, you're more likely to get something going on here. They watch kids there's somebody I know that found multiple like blinds that were all around this park, right? I mean, literally right outside the fence of this park. It's a giant park and it's surrounded by woods, not any crazy like forest. Now you can get to thicker, denser forest through this area, but there's all these blinds set up strategically around this park. So there's something in those blinds that are trying to watch children, because I mean, who goes to the park? This isn't like a adult go play basketball. No, this is like kiddie park. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. But yeah, I think they do a whole lot of watching, and they've done it for a very long time. So it makes sense. We're big idiots. We break things. We pick things up, put them down. We shoot things. We fight each other, and then
and even our most adept outdoorsmen are completely inept in the woods compared to these guys.
Yeah. It's funny because when people try to make comparisons to somebody being stupid, they say, "Oh, what are you, a caveman?" Well, in this instance,
in this environment, caveman is going to outsmart you every time.
That's right. Yeah, you stand no chance. Well, listen, man. It's been an hour and a half. I know you're cold. I know you got to get ready to get the night going, get the fire going. I really appreciate this, man. I learned a lot tonight. And I am probably going to go out and buy a battery pack and a Tascam so that I can hang something up in the woods.
And I can help you out with any questions you got.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I will. I listen. If you tell me to, I'm going to, because I do have questions and I'm learning. So expect some messages once in a while. I won't hound you, but
no problem. The more people out there recording, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Anything you want to plug? Anything coming up? Feel free to share.
Well, just my YouTube. I put stuff up once in a while. So, when I have time, if I have something interesting, I like to put it up. I like putting up a lot of the known sounds because some of the known animals make some crazy freaking sounds. So
Yeah, really crazy stuff. Awesome. Well, go guys, please go subscribe to Chris's YouTube channel. Go check out the Olympic Project's webpage. Also Shane's, everybody else in the group too. You know,
and
what?
Squatcher Matrix on Facebook.
Watch what?
Squatcher Matrix on Facebook.
Oh, okay. All right. I have to say this. I said it to Shane. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job with what you're doing. I really do. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there who are doing this work as well with as much integrity and leaving the ego out of it. And I think you guys are doing this really well. And I admire what you guys are doing because first and foremost, you know, when it comes down to it, I'm a fan of the subject. I'm a fan of people who are doing the right things here. And I think you guys are. So I just wanted to let you know that, man.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that. Anytime,
man. Anytime. And you want to come back on, you're welcome here anytime. Matter of fact, I'll probably at some point will get you back on when maybe you get another year of audio under your belt. And you're not in the woods and you can come share some audio spectrograms and stuff with us.
Sounds good, bud.
All right, man. Well, go get warm. You guys, tomorrow, please, I don't know what time. We're going to meet up at 11:30. I don't know when I'm going to go live, but I will go live tomorrow with Alex, with Brian and Chewy in the Bridgewater Triangle in Freetown State Forest. So please stay tuned. Please watch for the notifications because you're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be fun. Even if nothing happens, I can already tell you that me, Alex, and Brian together is probably going to be pretty comedic at very least. So until then, have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Peace out.